Good morning. Welcome to Mornings with Marvel, where authenticity lives and thrives to create a space of growth, healing, and joy. I am your host, Andrea Lawful Sanders, and each day we will cover the topics that are informative and engaging while learning from each other. Good morning to each and every one of you. I made it into my chair by the hair of my chin today. Full day. Just trying to figure out where I am in the moment because we're extrapolating videos right now from the conversation with Marguerite Boyd Faison and Dr. Taylor and using those no, that's not what I'm trying to do. And using those conversations, putting those things up. Good morning, Marguerite. So we're putting out 2-minute segments so that we can post them on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, etc. This is not for the faint of heart. People think we just get behind a microphone and do all the things. Good morning, Dennis. Good morning, Laverne. Alexandra, good morning, baby. We made it. Oh, Jesus, Father, heaven, help us. Morning, Bobby. Thank you, darling. Thank you. So this outfit, was a long story. This is why I almost missed my show today, messing around with this outfit. Anyway, today is Friday, and if he is up and moving, we will have Council Member Anthony Phillips on, so we can talk about what's happening at City Council. But baby, can we just get into this news right here? Can we just get into the news? Yesterday morning, let me see who else is talking to me. Good morning, Laverne and Laura. Oh, Monica, good morning. Oh, it's a dress, Alexandra. Beautiful, all the way to the ground. Long story. We'll talk about that later. I got from an African sister in Upper Darby. So, Mother really works hard to support small businesses. And so this was, I think, last year or the year before, I got this from her. Somebody black, Miss Chanel, sold these to me. You already know. I don't have to tell you. But let's get into the news because there's so much going on that we shall discuss. Let's discuss, shall we? Good morning, Debbie Womack. Good morning, my darling. And to those of you who reached out to me yesterday on Thursday, right after we spoke to Marguerite Boyd Faison, I know on some level that people were going through it with their spouses, whether it's the woman being sick or the man being sick. But what I didn't realize was how many people just were not discussing what was going on at that level. And so we're grateful to Marguerite for opening the door for people to find their voices and find it. They did. They found their voices and began calling me. And, the conversation is, can we have more shows like this where people are being completely transparent around what's going on in their lives so that we don't feel like we're alone in all of this? And next Thursday, we're going to talk to preachers' kids. People who were born and raised under pastors and what that has meant for them in terms of finding love, et cetera, et cetera. So every Thursday, we're going to be having these kinds of conversations because Cherie and I can talk and we can banter back and forth, but we need to have more discussions on a more beneath the surface, people who are actually experiencing these kinds of things so that they can then talk to us about what's going on and open the door for others to speak. Marguerite, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So there will be some segments from Marguerite's interview that'll show up starting early next week. And we're doing Dr. John Taylor right now. We interviewed him the day before and his interview was fire. I asked my producer to extrapolate these 2 videos and he said, wowzer, this is amazing stuff. So I am so grateful. Okay. All right, great. So before Councilmember Phillips come on, let's discuss 40 decommissioned SEPTA buses damaged by fire at Philadelphia storage yard. A fire damaged 40 SEPTA buses, including 15 electric buses, at a Philadelphia storage yard on Thursday. The fire was reported around 6:15 a.m. at the SEPTA Midvale district, next to the Roberts yard in the 2400 block of Roberts Avenue in the Tioga Nicetown section of the city. It was upgraded to a 3-alarm blaze around 7:30 a.m. Thick black smoke could be seen billowing in the air at the height of the fire. When the smoke finally cleared, some of the buses could be seen melted to the ground. A total of 100 buses were in the yard, including gas-powered and electrical buses. They were slated to be sold for a minimal amount or scrapped, SEPTA Interim General Manager Scott Sars said. This was written by 6abtc.com. And I'm discussing this right now because folks from all around the country started reaching out to me via WhatsApp and said something like, this don't seem accidental. So tell me what your thoughts are around this. They felt like it was some kind of disgruntled employee or something that was going on there. Now listen, these are just people's opinions. It might not work out to be just that. However, I have been for the last, I think since 2018, have been having conversations with SEPTA workers who would reach out knowing that I would keep their under the condition of anonymity, and the description of the things that they've had to deal with working for SEPTA, some of the managers, what was going on there has been nothing short of craziness, right? So it's not out of the realm of possibility that someone was feeling, whatever and whatever. But 40 buses just went up in smoke, just like that. And they were decommissioned. It's not like the buses were operational. So could have been a battery caught on fire. Could have been because these electrical things in the heat, whatever could have happened. But we're still waiting to hear from SEPTA, around why this happened. So there's that. So give me your opinion, your thoughts and your opinions on what you think that may be, right? Depending on what's going on. Because we still, just the buses just went up in flames. I'm like, who does that? And they've been sitting there decommissioned, getting ready for sale. Something's going on. President Donald Trump on Wednesday resurrected a hallmark policy of his first term, announcing that citizens of 12 countries would be banned from visiting the United States, and those from 7 others would face restrictions. The ban takes effect Monday at 12:01 a.m., a cushion that may avoid the chaos that unfolded at airports nationwide when a similar measure took effect with virtually no notice in 2017. I remember that. Trump, who signaled plans for a new ban upon taking office in January, appears to be on firmer ground this time after the Supreme Court sided with him. This was written by NBC Philadelphia. Lord Jesus. And wait, I need to pull up the countries so that you can hear. Let me do that because I saw the countries and I said to myself, oh my goodness. Come on, open up. Let Mova see. Come on. Come on, Black Jesus. This could be me. This absolutely could be me. There it is. Let me read you the countries that some, but not all 12 countries also appeared on the list of banned countries in Trump's first term. The new ban includes Afghanistan, Myanmar, Chad, the Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. There will be heightened restrictions on visitors from Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela. You all see what's going on out here in these Wakandan streets? Do you see the countries that are banned? Right. So we are in an interesting time. Let me see. All right. Laura says, what a conversation yesterday. Marguerite put it down. Oh, thank you, Monica. Good morning, Erica. So Erica, Erica is now going to be in the season 4 podcast episode. So yes, Mova's already. Joanne says your dress looks like stained glass. Thank you, darling. Good morning, Roz. Good morning, Roz. I know you were listening to Marguerite yesterday morning, and I thought about you. And you need to give me your opinion, your thoughts on what went through your head as you listened to Marguerite talking. Laverne, I saw that you were in city council yesterday and that you testified and you had some of the babies with you. So that's great. Alexandra says, Marguerite, your interview yesterday resonated. Oh, Laverne says, I told you, Andrea, that is needed. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Thank you, one lady Wawa. It is a dress. Thank you so much. Grand Rising Tria. Good morning, Jana Malis. It's so good to see all of you here. And Winetta Smith, good morning. Laura said Marguerite made it possible for people to open up. Laverne says yesterday was where them fans at. Wild. Oh yeah, it was crazy. Marguerite says, thank you for all your kind words. It was my pleasure to serve you all. Girl, you weren't, listen to me, Marguerite. You gave people a space to discuss the things that were happening to them in real time, right? Alexandra says that Laura also given adult children and grandchildren insight and to what our parents and grandparents are going through as caregiving spouses. Yes, 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 yes. I was called, one of the calls I got yesterday was to talk to a sister in California. People, listen to me. People are going through it. Monica said, Marguerite, yesterday's open vulnerability freed so many. Honey, it was a blessing. See? And so when I talk to you guys, I keep saying to you, I don't send out questions. People always ask, what kind of questions do you have? Can I get the questions in advance? And they're always shocked when I say this. I don't have any for you. I am having a conversation. My interviews are conversational. I listen to you in your opening salvo and I follow up with questions from the things that you say to me, right? Which is what makes these conversations so powerful in the end. Laverne, as it applies to the buses, said she thought it was intentional. Dennis says insurance claim. You know, Dennis, did not think about that in these Wacondan streets. Alexandra says, I'm thinking intentional because you just can't walk into the Midvale yard like you're walking around Fairmount Park. Absolutely true. You just cannot. Laura says, Alexandra, yes, it was freeing for us all, the conversation with Marguerite yesterday. Alexandra says, all the countries that are banned are telling the United States no to providing minerals and doing contracts with Starlink. Good morning, Tiffany. Joanne says Trump's travel ban supposedly for terrorism. What happened to Egypt? Rosalind says, I will because in a response to Marguerite's conversation, she was touching so many things that I have also experienced. Yes, I do know that, right? Which is why I thought about you as she was talking yesterday. Good morning, Jasenia. Laverne says, while I'm grateful for what love and marriage looks like, the other side of marriages, those sickness and health, rich and poor, is not shared. It's not healthy to struggle in silence. That part, right? Absolutely not healthy to struggle in silence. And Jasenia said she thought the fire at SEPTA was intentional as well. So there we are. Do you remember when I started this media company, A Lawful Truth, and I said to you all, this was not going to be business as usual. We're not going to spend all our time and the news. Oh my God, the news, the drownings, the murder suicides, all the things. And yes, that has to be covered. And I will read some parts of the news, but there are other people who will do podcasts and news reports more in depth than I will. My goal is to find the human side of all of us, talk about the things that absolutely matter in our lives, how it's impacting us and how we're showing up as a direct result of that. So I will cover some of the news, but my niche is this part right here, right? Finding the human interest story so that we can discuss what's going on, because we're so busy being, like, one of the things you notice, I did not cover the Diddy trial at all. Will not cover the Diddy trial at all. Right? There's just some things I'm not wasting my time and energy on. On one Thursday, we're going to talk about Brian McKnight under the guise of just not about Brian McKnight being a trifling father, but really talking about how fatherhood shows up or not in so many children's lives. There are folks who get divorced and the parent that's still there says, well, I don't want to be the parent that's not living in the house says, I don't want to be in touch with my children anymore. And this is not just men. Women have done it too. Ask me how I know, right? Winetta Smith says, yesterday's show was healing and encouraging for me. Thanks, Marguerite. Tria Jones says, it will be interesting what the investigation report says. Yes, Tria. And oftentimes when these things are going on, what we get is really sometimes, because I'm in the background hearing some of this stuff, sometimes what shows up in the foreground is not exactly what happened in the background, which is why I'm also a little bit miffed about the stuff that, the news reports comes out with, and they don't always tell it the way it happened, right? Because somebody says to them, we don't want this out there. Okay. Good morning, Melissa. So let Council Member Phillips in. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
How you feeling?
I'm good, sir. I'm good. There's a lot happening, so let me introduce you to the people because you already know. Uh,
Right.
Lord,
Oof,
Councilmember Phillips, this is.
right. I'm
Councilmember
dropping
Phillips,
going on.
Anthony Phillips, represents Philadelphia's 9th District, covering Burnholm, Crescentville, East Oak Lane, Fern Rock, Lawndale, Lawncrest, Logan, Melrose Park, and a partridge in a pear tree, Mount Airy, Olney, Oxford Circle, Summerdale, and West Oak Lane. I am also going to tell you, because I will keep saying it because I'm so damn proud of him, that he now just recently became Dr. Anthony Phillips. He got his PhD very recently. Yes, and has anybody acknowledged it in City Council?
Yeah, council president did.
Very good, Council
It was
President.
like
Very good.
now every time he announces me, he says, "Council member Dr. Anthony Phillips."
Yes, good. Because that's hard work. You don't just get up and get a PhD unless somebody convey it on you, because you're wonderful. But it's hard work.
Yep,
Um,
absolutely. And yeah, that's it's funny because that's actually what he said. He said, "No, I'm gonna call you that because he says as a black man in Philadelphia, he was just like, I'm proud of you."
that
So
part,
yeah,
that
yeah,
part, that part.
yeah.
So
So yeah,
thank you,
thank you.
Council President Kenyatta Johnson, for that.
Right.
What the hell is happening at City Hall?
Well, a lot is happening at City Hall. First, let me just start off with the bill yesterday that we had a little discussion on. So, Councilmember Rue Landau is looking to introduce a bill that will provide tenants with the opportunity to essentially pay their security deposit at a later date, as opposed to paying the security deposit upfront, right? A lot of times,
So
um,
they would pay first month rent
first
and
month,
get in, and then pay their security deposit at a later date.
yes, their security deposit. Basically, after they would have 3 months to pay for their security deposit.
Hmm.
And so, problem is the bill allows. So essentially, the bill allows landlords to accept the security deposit installments from tenants in 4 installments if the deposit for the first year of the tenancy exceeds the price of one month's rent. So basically, if it's more than 1 month's rent, the tenant, whatever it might be, the security deposit can be done in 4 installments. But
Hmm.
here's the issue. um, the major issue with the security deposit people that I also have is the fact that we we're concerned that if you can't afford the security deposit, for a particular apartment, right? Then what that means is that you're going to in about 3 or 4 months, you're responsible for that security deposit still. So on top of the rent that you have to pay
You still
each
got to
month,
put in the additional money for the security
so
deposit,
you're
right?
putting people in a bad position, um, to me, because now if you can't afford it when you first came in, what makes you think your things are going to change? And
Hmm.
then the other part is for the landlord, if they don't get the money, are they going to really be in a position to evict those people? And
And if they evict them, not having a security deposit, then they can tear up the place.
there you go. There you have it. And so that is why there was a large discussion about not supporting this bill. And so it's still on the table for next week. There's a chance to be voted on officially next week. There's a chance that she may have 9 votes, but currently I'm not. You know, I'm not in a position right now where I feel I could support it. So it's just something I think about.
Yeah, yeah,
And so it's hard to support something that may have such a detrimental effect on
yeah,
not only just the landlords but the tenant itself.
yeah.
But so that was a big discussion yesterday at City Council. But I'm going to talk about the budget a little bit
Hmm.
too. But next week I want to have a full fledged budget analysis. Actually, because we've been up for the past 2 days, and I didn't get an opportunity to really. Honestly, I went to bed. So
So yeah,
so
because Andrea Robin Manning says, how about passing the budget? Can you explain to us civilians why it was done after hours?
yeah. So the reason why, so what happens is that um, we would have to, if we don't work on the budget, if we didn't work on the budget this week, that means that we would have, by law, we would have had to have another session in order to get the budget passed. And here's why:
Okay.
the budget has to go through a committee, the committee of a whole, which represents all of city council.
Right.
Then after that, the budget will go to one of our city council traditional sessions that happens on Thursdays for a vote. So after it's read by committee, it has to have a first reading in one of the city council sessions, and
Mhm.
then a second reading would be. We did the first reading in the session yesterday because we recessed the session yesterday and got it done. We finished it that day.
But okay, so why are you up to the, as we would Grayson said, pull up to the bumper? Why are you up to the deadline?
Yeah,
What was going on that you all were not meeting, or were you meeting? What's happening?
I think it's because we have been meeting for weeks already about you know uh, individual meetings, council president, and all the council members have been meeting about the budget and what we were prioritizing, what we found issues with,
Hmm.
and it finally came to the finally came to the day that we got to finally decide. And we, um, technically, it's with all of our members, right? To be honest with you, in our schedules, trying to go out, we got this to do, that to do. It's like sometimes we just got to say, "Oh, today's the day," and we all just gonna sit here and figure it out. Now,
Yeah.
whether or not we should do this a few days before, is another story in itself. But ultimately, we probably gonna need one of those days where say today's the day, and we just all got to sit here and figure it out because
Right.
otherwise we'll be deliberating over weeks, as opposed to days. So
Yeah.
that's what happened. And to be honest with you, I think that there's only right now, from what I'm aware of, there's going to be two members that are going to be voting against the budget. And that's going to be Nicholas O'Rourke and Kendra Brooks. There's some items in the budget that they
So
want.
Kendra Brooks and Nick O'Rourke is going to be voting against the
Yeah,
budget.
yeah, from the Working Families Party.
What are their concerns?
So of their major concerns is the following: they wanted mental health mobile crisis units to be further enhanced in the budget, and like in terms of the raise those prices in the budget. They
Hmm.
also wanted they didn't like the Philadelphia school district. They wanted more funding from the city to provide to the Philadelphia school district, which honestly I agree with. I think that
Hmm.
I would love to have seen more funding for the Philadelphia school district,
So
but
what are they offering? What's in the budget line for the Philadelphia School District now,
for the
and what do
Philadelphia,
they want for it?
yeah, for the school district of Philadelphia, I believe they're at. Let me see here. That's why I said next week. I'm going to give you all the final details next week, but I'll have it in front of me. School district of Philadelphia, city council. One second, one here. Um, it can be introduced in payment installments, but then the problem is you put people in a bad position still, right? Okay, hold on. City of Philadelphia. Let me see here. All right. Long story short, let me go ahead and say. Let me just go ahead and tell you what they're, and then I'll tell you. I'll get the school district budget in most moment.
Hmm.
Um, they wanted a wage tax refund for low income people. And right now, the way the taxes are being discussed and handled in the city, the idea of a wage tax refund is, I think the concern was that in the city of Philadelphia, we have a uniformity clause because of the state. So if you ask for a wage tax refund for certain people making poverty wages, that's what they said, low income individuals who make poverty wages,
Hmm.
then you have to have a wage tax refund for everybody else too.
Oh,
Um, so
which the city can't afford to go through
the city
because,
can't afford to
right,
do it.
right.
And to be honest with you, I mean, I like the idea of a wage tax refund. I
Mhm.
do, because at the end of the day, I I just believe that uh, we are we need to keep some money in people's pockets so they can grow our
Yes.
economy. Um, and it is expensive, like these taxes are expensive on people's paycheck. But I just don't think we can't. That's why we got in trouble before, because now the state is trying to sue us for the $100,000 exemption on businesses. So basically, any business that makes less than $100,000 in receipts a year,
Uh-huh.
they don't have to pay taxes and this business taxes in the city of Philadelphia. And so now the courts in Pennsylvania and there's challengers, people are trying to prosecute Philadelphia, are saying that you can't do that. Now, our city's law department believes that we won't win that battle. We actually lose millions of dollars as a result of that battle. Now they're talking about in terms of millions, they're talking about I don't know how they calculate it, but they talk about at least $50 million.
So there's a thought that the state suing the city. So let me see if I heard you
Yeah,
correctly. In this right now in the city's charter, what they're saying is if you have a business in the city of Philadelphia and your receipts are less than $100,000 a year, you don't have to pay business
that
taxes,
is correct.
right?
That is
The
correct.
state is suing the city of Philadelphia because you're saying that's not legal.
Yeah, they're saying, yep, the state was city, yep, the
Okay.
city of Philadelphia,
And if I
yep,
also heard you correctly, you said your law offices that handles the work for the city of Philadelphia says you may lose that battle.
that's it. That is correct.
And if you lose that battle, then what is the city going to have to pay the state?
The city is saying that the city would have to pay the money that
Those
they were
businesses,
given. They basically evaded taxes for. The businesses that they evaded taxes for, they would have to pay that tax revenue back to the state because of the fact that they didn't tax them 100. They didn't tax the businesses of less than $100,000 a year. So
and
whatever.
they cannot go back and say to the people who they told didn't have to pay taxes that they now have to pay taxes. They couldn't go back.
And according to our law department, I literally asked that question, and they said we. She said that is a risky thing, in which
It sure
that may
is, because
that
you'd
may
have
not
anarchy
be.
on your hands. You told them people they didn't have to pay the taxes.
Yep, that's it. That's exactly what we. That's exactly what they said. They said that's very risky and that may not happen. And so what Kendra and Nick are upset is the fact that we didn't fight it. And I understand how they could be upset about it, about the idea of not fighting it. So I think it's a tough decision. I get their vantage point, but
Yeah.
it's a tough
David Debnan says they will sue the city. Yeah,
decision.
if you try to make those people go back and pay taxes that you told them that they didn't have to pay, they will sue the city.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
considering your budget, and I'm a lay person who have been trying to wade through the morass of the city and what's going on within
right.
the budget, etc. Considering your budget constraints, where the hell are you going to find the money? Excuse my language. Where are
Hmm.
you going to find the money to pay back the state on top of all the other budget constraints you have?
There you have it. There you have it. And I think that that's where we are. I mean, I think the reality matter is, oh yeah. So I got the numbers for the school district is $293 million, and what I'll do is that we allocated to the school district of Philadelphia. Um, and what I'll do
How
is,
much more do they want allocated? Because
and that's
Melissa says, why are we adding more money to the school district if they're not doing what they're supposed to do with the funds they now have?
And you know what, Melissa, you have a solid point, and that's some of the things we were talking about. So here's what's happening, and we kind of talked about this last week. Um, the school district in Philadelphia is constantly in need of money, and I say to myself, mm, what can be cut back? We
Right.
can't cut. Let's not cut back teacher salaries because they
Right.
definitely need their money. Let's not cut back the staff salaries at the schools, right? But are we overspending on consultants? Are we overspending on staff administrative salaries, right? That are out of this world, right? what are we doing that doesn't make sense when
That
it
it
comes
doesn't
to
filter down to the teachers and the
yes,
students
the
themselves.
teachers and students themselves?
Hmm.
And because the way I see it is, I always tell people that sometimes the people who work in the administrative buildings of the school district, they don't. I mean, they work, but they're not.
Let's go ahead and call it what it is, because
Yeah, they're
I'm
not
not shy.
working in a way that we need them to
I'm
work.
not shy, right? I
You
have
know,
had too many people who have left the school district of Philadelphia because they're just watching people around them who are making six figures
yeah.
and not getting any work done, making six figures and going to their boule meetings, making six figures and going to their sorority or fraternity meetings when they're supposed to be on the time clock. Those kinds of things were consistently happening when Dr. Watlington came in and started to shake up things a little bit. Yeah, we had a little bit of movement there, but I'm not sure, what's going to happen as we move along. David Debnan says the city can use its insurance policy for the back taxes if they lose the case at the
Mm,
state, right?
right.
So, we'll see. Alexandra says, Council Phillips, there is a wage tax refund. I received it as a non-resident. We had non-residents. If you're paid out of your pocket, while you're working and you're a non-resident, they have to give it back to you. So that's that part, because you're not
Oh
a
yeah.
resident of the city
Oh
of
yeah.
Philadelphia,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So
Yes.
that
Yes.
makes
Yes.
sense.
Yeah. I
Um,
think they wanted to expand it. That's why I said I'm gonna get some more details on that one.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. That's a little different. But I think what they really want is no, they want it for residents too. Okay, so it wasn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the part. That's the
Yeah.
thing that's
That's the
causing the
part.
issue.
Yeah. That's the part.
So
Yeah.
Andrea says, wait, I love these conversations. Says
I do.
Andrea says a wage tax refund for low wage earners would break the city, but there's a reduction in the business tax. Make it make sense.
I'm gonna tell. So here's, hey, Andrea, thank you for that question. But let me answer that for you. So and I'm actually, let me just pull this up right now because I want to really explain how this works. Because I think it's important. Hold on. There you go. It's pulling up right now. I'm going to tell you, I think it's important to kind of really help from a number standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
explain this. So essentially, the city of Philadelphia is heavily reliant on businesses when it comes to taxes. And I'm going to tell you the city wage tax, which paid Philadelphians and non-Philadelphia, which basically is paid by Philadelphia and non-Philadelphia residents working in the city. The wage tax accounts for 29% of the city's tax revenue, which is over $1.7 billion annually. The real estate tax, which is our property taxes, right? There's not a lot of homeowners, for whatever reason, in the city of Philadelphia. It's only 14% of the city's revenue, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then it only generates out of a $6.8 billion budget. It only generates $800 million a year. Meanwhile, in other counties, right, and 55% of those funds go to the school district of Philadelphia. Meanwhile, so that's only $400 million of our real estate tax going to the
Mm-hmm.
school district of Philadelphia. Whereas other
Mm-hmm.
counties, there's a lot more property owners,
Yes,
and the
and they
real
can
estate
get
tax
more.
is a lot
Yes,
higher, and so
yes,
they get a lot more revenue from that. We don't do that.
yes,
We can't because we
yes.
don't have a lot of people in real estate. The
Okay.
business and income receipts tax, right, brings the city around $700 million annually. So the problem is that which is not anymore. It's a little $100 million less than a wage tax, but it is about 12% of the city's income. The
Right.
problem is that we, as the city of Philadelphia, rely heavily on businesses, and our whole idea is to, if we can find ways
To
to
continue to attract the businesses and keep
attract the
them in the
businesses.
city, they'll be able to get the taxes from them. I have a question for you, and then
There
I'm
you
going to
go.
go to something that Melissa says. The If you don't pay for the first $100,000, you pay taxes on anything over $100,000. Is that what they do?
Yeah. So no. So what the way it works is that if you're a small, and this is, I get it, this is going to be an impact on every business in the city of Philadelphia. If you have a business and you don't make any revenue beyond $100,000 a year, now with the new with the exemption going away, that you can't, we don't tax those businesses anymore. Now those businesses will be taxed. So the people who just have a business in name, but they're not really doing anything with it, other than
Still
maybe
going to have to pay taxes.
they having those two events a year that get them $5,000. They now got to pay tax on $5,000 to
Okay.
me. And then and that change is like, that's a huge change,
Yeah.
because one, you don't make that much money from it. Two, it's not a
Mm-hmm.
serious incorporation for you, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so now you're getting like, these taxes on top of your, like, you're not
Your
used to
regular
paying taxes.
taxes
Yeah,
that you have to pay, yeah. That's going to
right.
break a lot of businesses, I'm telling you now,
It
right?
is. It
And
is.
if the city can do a payment plan, that would be very helpful. But it's still going to make people pissed, keep people pissed off
I know. Yeah.
about all of this because it's extra taxes on top of taxes.
What I'm going to say what I'm going to say to people, which is probably not the thing, if you can't do it, don't stress yourself. The only thing I can say is because right now the city does not like it. The administration does not like that they're doing this. I'm going to wait to see how hard. I would, if I was you, I would wait to see how hard they're going to come after me about it first.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
Mm-hmm.
that's the only thing I
Mm-hmm.
can say to you all. I would
Yeah.
wait to see if you don't can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
I would just wait to see how hard they're going to come after me about it, and
Mm-hmm.
then if they come after me about it, then I guess then we just have to come up with the plans.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Here's a thought. Melissa says, I need the school district to be audited.
Yes.
Now, hold
Yes.
on. A few years ago, I interviewed Rebecca Reinhardt, who used to be the auditor, the controller for the city. And she was so transparent in saying that when she asked to audit the city of Philadelphia, folks were calling her, slapped her hands, and she was never able to do it. Why is it? Who is it that's holding the key or the hands for not allowing the school district to be audited? Because it needs to be audited.
No. I I literally said this the other day. I said the school district needs to be seriously audited. I don't know.
You're getting millions of dollars. You're getting hundreds of millions of dollars from the city budget, and yet you can't be audited. No
No,
one sees anything wrong with that.
they can be audited. They can be audited,
So who's
and it needs to
auditing
be a
them?
public audit that people. It needs to be a real, like, outside person to do this audit, not hired by the school district of Philadelphia,
Mm-hmm.
who's coming in with the public's, like, mindset of what they're interested in learning. Because if we do that, we I know the school district needs money. I think that they deserve more money. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
However, we need to do what we can. We need to use what we have and try to make the
Right.
best of it, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
question is that could we be more functional if we made certain cuts internally, or how we're spending? Like, we just found out, like you said, the city controller just found that millions of dollars were lost,
Mm-hmm.
because some people were using these contracts improperly, right? So it's like, yeah, I was like, yeah, that actually came up. And I'm actually, let me bring up the dollar amount again. I was like shocked,
I
I was
know the
like,
the, the group for homeless services. I know they wasted a
yeah,
ton of money, according to the city controller, right?
yep.
And in the did city council have a conversation with Dr. Watlington? Because has anybody addressed what's happening at King? And that, you understand what I'm saying? The things
Yeah,
that the concerns has that been brought up? Has anyone brought that up in the
nope,
conversation with the school district?
no.
No.
So we have, so what the school district of Philadelphia is that, Controller Brady, um, discovered that there was $700,000 that was stolen, from the school district accounts. It was a cyber attack, um, basically, and somehow this was just discovered recently in May, right? About
Did
these,
the school district know about it and it was just discovered? What happened?
according to the investigation is ongoing, but according either the district, what if the district knew about it, they darn sure did announce it, and the city found out about it. So it, so now the question is that like if you it, basically Dr. Walton says he's implemented these like number of measures to enhance internal controls and for to avoid cyber fraud, but at the end of the day, taxpayers' money was lost because um, basically the district system is set up to pay vendors by paper check unless they request ACH payments. So when they were paying certain vendors, they were using, I guess they got their ACH numbers, the cyber people off of the district's computers, and found a way to get the money in their hands themselves. And I'm not sure what the vendors were, supposed to, be doing for the district, but that money was stolen as a result of like a cyber attack. They took the vendors that were supposed to be paid ACH numbers and then transferred it
How
into.
did they allow? That's people's private stuff.
I
How
know
did they?
it's chilling. It's chilling. Um, I would love. I mean, for me, you know, to be honest with you, like I would love to go full throttle on the school district of Philadelphia one year, the same way we just did with the housing budget. I would just say I would love to say, you know what, this year we're gonna do a bond, and we're gonna do $2 billion to the school district of Philadelphia, and we're gonna fix all of our schools. Like
Mm,
literally, like at least a good chunk of them, rebuild all of them,
mm.
or next one, or find a way to pay our teachers' salaries, something like that. Like,
So the teachers need to be paid better. There need the
mhm.
many of the buildings are in disrepair or should not even have students inside of them. Um, Years ago, so I'm talking 2011, 2012, the cost of building a new school, a new elementary middle school was over $100 million. Right? We're now
Yeah,
in 2025, 2025, where building costs have gone up, the materials have gone up. um I know the school district of Philadelphia did a brand new school somewhere near the Northeast. And I would love to know, and I have to look this up or have one of my team members look this up for me, what was the cost of building that new school? Because I don't think $2 billion will even begin to touch the surface
mm-mm,
of what needs to be done to repair those buildings. What I
mm-mm.
cannot understand for someone who sat on a school board for 8 years is why was there not a line item for monies put aside to fix buildings, right? To make sure that the asbestos was taken out, which is kind of, it seems to me in the Philadelphia school district budget, they're just kind of getting the money and using it as they deem necessary. There,
Right.
if you're effectively running a school district as a school board, the line items are there for abatement. The line items are there every summer when school's out. The line items are there for, all right, we know we have to abate this building, so this is what we're doing this summer. We know this building is coming up for repair. We know, like Abington right now, they're getting ready to build a whole new junior high school. They had all these meetings over the year, with the community, talked about what was wrong, whether they could fix it or whether they should tear the building down. And I'm watching. These are the kinds of things I'm accustomed to.
Yep.
Here in Philly, it's, well, this is what we decided. Where are the meetings, the community meetings for the community to have some input? Where is the line budget item to put some money over here for abatement, money over here to pay the taxes, money over here to I
Yeah.
and if they, even if they have the line item,
And then they
where's
have
the
to worry
money
about getting
showing
a new
up in their
school.
budget every single year? Is that money there that they're talking about? Am
Yeah,
I
no,
making sense?
and they know they you are. They have this. They have a line item called capital project improvements as
Gaines
well
project,
as
yes. Hmm.
operational improvements. Um, Yet one of the things that we still have yet to receive is a facilities plan on how they're supposed to be utilizing those line items. So as
And if
it's
we
been very much
audit
a
them,
thought.
is that money going to be there for those line items that they put into the budget?
It that's very true. I mean, here's the reality: is that like we last year we received $29 million from the federal government, right, in taxes. So it I mean from tax revenue, and then the school district was also receiving federal government funds. They're not going to get those anymore, right? So if you by not having this audit, you're in a situation where we're relying on the school district to make decisions, right, that are going to be the best interests of our children. But they have traditionally not always made the best decisions. And so you might need an outsider to tell you you're overspending in this. Like, and here's why. Because you're not going to get federal support and the city's not going to support you as well.
Yeah.
So now I agree. And here's the interesting part. Abington is about to build a brand new middle school. I'm not sure if they
Oh, I
purchased
know. It's a middle
it.
school.
A
Yeah,
middle
they're
school.
about to.
Brand new
I'm
middle
telling
school.
you.
Which I don't even think probably is the middle school is probably not even deteriorating. It's probably
Oh, it's pretty bad. I've been in there
it's
for
pretty bad.
17, 20
Okay.
years. It's pretty bad.
Okay.
And
So,
and it's been old and decrepit and getting older, and people are getting sick in the building, right? The
oh, okay. So
teachers and
that makes
stuff are
sense.
getting sick in the
But
building.
it
So,
can't get
and
along.
we had
That
begun having that conversation while I was on the school board. But for those first 8 years, they were rebuilding the elementary schools. That they wanted to make sure the babies were taken care of. Right? They
mm,
got a $25 million grant from Schwartzman, which they built a whole new annex to the high school. But you can see fiscally where the monies are going. Melissa says the school district of Philadelphia doesn't need more. They need to use the funds properly and enforce those rules. You cannot get money
mm.
from the city and tell them you can't. Look at my books. That's that part. You understand what I'm saying? And then people get into hurt feelings. Why are they talking about this? Don't they know? No, that's not how we're supposed to run. We're supposed to fairly report what we see going on. But people get their feelings hurt and then get all affronted and their egos get all puffed up. And the children are still not getting what they need. They have building leaders that are not doing what they're supposed to do. The stories, and people are frustrated, and then they say this school is not performing without really looking at the cause, the symptoms and the cause of why the school is not performing. And then they shut the school down, take away the teachers, all the things. Right now they're talking about condensing the school. So it should be interesting to see for this next school year what buildings are going to be condensed and closed, because Philadelphia is made up of a set of communities, neighborhoods. When they moved when they moved Germantown High into King, oh my God,
Yep.
right? When they closed
Well,
Germantown High, now they're making it apartments, and people were able to buy the building, and who thinks
yeah,
about the children?
yeah.
Who?
I know. I agree with you on that one. I agree with you on that one. Also, I just want to share with you as well um, that one of the things I'm excited about that I created an initiative recently, and I put it in the city's budget, and I called it the Youth Access to Opportunities Grant. So ultimately, I created a budget request that would fund the expansion of services that help working class and under-resourced families cover the cost of aftercare, summer programs, and enrichment activities for their children. So the grant is going to aim to increase access to quality out-of-school programs by basically reducing financial barriers. So and support youth and development citywide. So the idea is that there are families that make between 40,000 and $100,000 annually a year. They will have the opportunity to get to go through an organization, which I'm hoping is going to be the Children's Scholarship Fund, uh,
Right.
um, to basically apply for some seed money or something so that they can go into some of these expensive programs, or if they just need help with paying for an aftercare or after school program, it can be
Mm-hmm.
up to about $500,
Mm-hmm.
per family. But the whole idea is that a lot of families are paying a lot of money on programs in the city of Philadelphia, and I figured that we should just find a way to help them. The money I've only got pilot funds up to $250,000 to see how it works, but I'm hoping it works well, that it becomes a staple in the city's budget just to help families with aftercare and after school programs, because people are saying that
Here's here's here is my other thought. Laverne Cheeseborough came to City Council yesterday
yeah.
with her children, with some
Hmm.
daycare children. What's
Oh yeah,
happening? That was Laverne, right?
that
That
was
stood and
Laverne.
addressed. That
Okay,
was Laverne that
okay.
addressed City Council. What's happening with the budget for healthcare providers? How are they being addressed? Because they're working for peanuts,
Oh
right?
yeah, yep. So I'm excited about this. So for council president said to me he was going to start a special committee on early childhood education, and I'm at. This will be the first time in the history of the city of Philadelphia that the city will be exploring what we can do to help childcare providers, because the state, which is responsible, right,
Mhm,
for these childcare agencies, and our state officials are constantly having issues with, supporting them.
mhm.
We said, you know what, we can't watch people who they live in our city. They're
Yes, and
providing
they're taking care of our most vulnerable children.
Yep, and they're teachers. So we said we need some.
Yes,
We can
because
do.
they have to get degrees in order for them to be working childcare. They have to pass all these things. They have to go through. I got to get the STARS program to make sure that I'm qualified to stay.
Yes,
And in this brand new committee that the council president is starting around childcare centers and childcare providers, can they have some childcare providers in that damn committee? Can we please bring the people that are actually dealing with and living through this every single day, along with some council members? Can we do that?
yeah, absolutely. No, it's going to be it's going to be child care providers. Most of the community is going to be child care providers, and then in addition to that, it's going to be some child care advocates who are not the providers, which is probably like Children's First, and then you're going to have, a couple of council members, and you have the administration.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be, and there's going to be parents,
Mm-hmm.
parents that are going to be from the agencies, the
Mm-hmm.
daycares, and then we're gonna have, hopefully graduate. We try to get some students that have graduated, but
Yeah.
that may not happen. But at least the parents are gonna be there.
Yes.
So yeah,
Parents
so
and
it's gonna be a
childcare
array of
providers.
people.
Yes.
But you're absolutely right. They're gonna be included. I don't know who is going to be included from there. There's an organization called ECE, which most of the child care providers
Mm-hmm.
are a part of. Um, and early childhood educators is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're going to get the representatives from that organization
Mm-hmm.
most likely to be on the
Mm-hmm.
committee. But I think that we're also probably the committee is also probably going to have an open forum with where all the child care providers in the city of Philadelphia can come and share out to the committee their thoughts too, and then we'll have a report after that.
Because I do believe Laverne has been going up to Harrisburg too. She understands where the federal funding is coming from. I am personally advocating for her to be on that damn committee. Because if
Oh,
I hear about
all right.
she for years she's been like, Andrea,
Before Seaman on
what
this,
can we do about? Yes,
before,
yes,
you
years. I'm
know,
not talking about months. She
before,
knows her stuff.
yeah,
She
we
was
got
talking
Kate.
to State Rep Darisha Parker last week. She's like, "Yeah, been up there. Thank you for helping us, but we got
Yeah,
to figure out how to move this forward."
yep,
So I'm grateful for that.
yep.
All right, what else is happening in the
That's
city
it.
budget?
Next week, I'll give you all more details about the budget because it'll be the official vote next week, and I'll tell you what was voted on, and then we'll just go from there. Is that fair?
Yes, fair enough.
All right. Well, thanks, Andrea, for always having me, and it's
You're
always
welcome, my
exciting to
brother.
talk to you. All right,
You're
we'll talk
welcome.
later.
All
Bye
right,
bye.
talk to you soon. All right, bye bye. Bye bye. Whoo, child. Lord Jesus. Whoo. Ishadabo. Part of the reason why you don't see me showing up into many of these spaces in the city of Philadelphia is that too many of our leaders want you to be invited. They invite you because there's a thought, there's an unspoken and spoken thought that they invite you into certain rooms. You cannot go on the air and discuss certain things. Well, that's not how this works, right? I am never unfair. I always reach out and ask for someone to give me an explanation as to what's going on. And I never ever, when I'm interviewing, go, "Oh my God," and I never treat people horribly. And even when I disagree in kindness, right? So, why is this continuing to be a thing? I remember Deborah Ann Henderson Scott said, I'm putting this up, a bunch of providers and mental health professionals also traveled to Harrisburg yesterday to advocate for funding from Monco. It's a lot. David Debman says we can lower the cost of the schools with SIG and urban A&O. Speak English, David, so that we can so the average person can understand what you're saying. It's a lot. And when people ask questions, even if they don't know exactly what to ask for, we understand that people care about what's happening. Alexander says, I nominate Laverne Cheeseburger. Laverne says, I gave them numbers yesterday. Many in city council and state don't know our numbers. Wow. This is crazy. It's always a pleasure, she says, that he's able to come on. So yeah, somebody said they went to yes, and we will be in Harrisburg on Monday as well. So it's not like these daycare providers are sitting around trying to, speaking underneath their tongues and not uh, publicly discussing what's going on. There's that, and then they send these babies that are having all kinds of issues into the public school system, and the teachers from kindergarten on are trying to navigate. But it's unconscionable that you have an 18 or a 19 or a 20-year-old graduating from school and you can't you marginally read. You don't know how to add and subtract properly. You don't know how to put a good resume together. And baby, with the invention of GPT chat, Lord, all you got to do is tell the thing what you want it to say, and it pushes it out for you. The problem is when you show up for your interview, should you be granted one? Do you know what you're talking about? So all these things absolutely matter. Lord have mercy. I want to thank you all for being a part of the show today. I have some great interviews for next week, as usual. Season 3 of the podcast is now officially out. Episode 1 is going to be out on Tuesday. I can't wait for you all to hear this conversation. I will need your feedback. But right now, on this here Friday, June 6th, 2025, we're ending this episode of Mornings with Marvel. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye, darlings.